Hello there, and welcome to Play the Game with Steve. Villains Beyond is a new series where we're going to explore the villains of Marvel Champions. We'll do a quick breakdown of the villain stages, his main scheme, and also the different ways that the villain is going to come at us during the fight. But most importantly, and the reason you're probably here today, is to find new and creative ways to approach these villains and build an encounter deck that is going to be both fun and thematic and different for each play experience. So I'm going to do something that I never do, is I'm actually going to be doing a tier list of some of the more thematic modulars, the more challenging modulars, and just the overall enjoyment modulars that you can include with the Rhino. So all this and more on this first episode of Villains Beyond. Okay, I'm sorry, I watched The Croods the other day and that little belt is just so funny. Let's get down to business. All right, Rhino has 3 stages. So he is a brute and a criminal. So those are 2 traits that we can kind of play off of later. He has 1 scheme in all 3 stages, which is pretty sweet. That's the lowest a villain can have, and that is very much in our favor, which means allows us to go to alter ego a lot. Then he has an attack of 2, 3, or 4, depending on the stage number, and that can be pretty punishing. Especially if you have a low health hero and you don't have anybody to help you soak up some of that damage, be prepared. And then finally, he has got 14, 15, and 16 hit points on his different stages per player. All right, now on stage 2, if you decide to fight him on expert, you will start with a side scheme that will be revealed. So you'll do whatever that says. And then on stage 3, he comes in with a tough status card, and then he will stun each hero when he comes out. Now, a little tip here, if you are an alter ego and have one of your allies defeat him, you will not get stunned. Very good idea. So try to see that, especially if you're playing solo. That's a good tip to have, to not have to deal with that stun card. All right, now let's take a look at his main scheme. He's only got 1, it's the break-in, and it can go up to 7 per player. Now here is what mostly happens when people lose to Rhino, is we stay up, we ignore the main scheme, we just try to deal damage pretty fast, and then what happens is he's beaten us up, we're down to 2 or 3 health, we have no choice to go to alter ego, and we have nothing to control threat, and then he just gets the unavoidable advance at the wrong time, and then we just lose the game. But if you, a little tip here, if you can control this threat and keep it down to 0 or 1, it is extremely unlikely that he can scheme for 7 in 1 turn because of his low scheme of 1. So that's a little tip here. All right, now let's take a look at how he is coming at us with the different cards in his kit. He's coming at us with a couple of side schemes. So crowd control and breaking and taking. So this one is a crisis icon. So this, you need to get rid of it if you are planning on going to alter ego, because then this will say that you can't remove from the main, and it's only 2 per player. So again, very easy to remove. The next one is breaking and taking. So that's when he gets that when you are on stage 2. Good little thing here, if you already have this in play on stage 1, he will not go and get it. So don't defeat this if you are ready to flip the hero to his second stage and this is already in play. Don't defeat it because it's just going to come right back. And that's only 3 per player because it's 2 and 1 per person, so it's just 3. So that's pretty easy to take care of, but you want to get rid of it because of that hazard icon. Then he's going to throw a couple of minions at you. 2 that are really just chumps that he's just throwing out there. These are Hydra mercenaries. They only have guard, which means you can't attack the boss, and then they only have 3 health. So pretty much chumps. Then you have the Shocker, and this guy is pretty fun because when he comes into play, he deals 1 damage to each hero. And then he gets his little mini boss, which is Sandman, and this guy is a priority target. You want to get rid of him as soon as he comes in because he schemes for 2, he's attacking for 3, he's got toughness and 4 health. So good thing he doesn't have a lot of health, but he is pretty dangerous if you leave him into play. Next, he has a couple of attachments on him. So he's got his big horn, and this one, it gives him a permanent +1 attack. So 3, 4, or 5 attack is what he can get up to, so that's pretty dangerous. If you have ways to avoid damage, that's pretty good. But if not, I would highly recommend that you spend those 3 physical resources once you get them to get rid of it. Then he's got his Rhino suit, and this is when he would receive any amount of damage, you place it here instead. Then if there's at least 5 here, you get rid of this card. But one thing to be known of is if you deal, let's say, a web kick, which deals 8, and then so 5 would go on this, and then the 3 is just lost because it's at least 5. So once you get to 5, boom, then it goes away. But if it goes up to 10, if you attack him for 10, it's just still going to go on him, and he's not losing anything else. And then the most dangerous attachment he has is the charges, and he's got 2 copies of that. And this could spell certain doom for our hero, because when Rhino attacks, it gains overkill. So the excess damage is going to go to the attacker, but it's only one time and then it goes away. But if you try to block with an ally, all the damage is going to come straight to your face once after the ally is defeated. So that's what you really got to be careful for this one. Make sure if you have a way to get yourself a tough status card, or if you have a character with a tough status card, that's pretty good, and you can kind of save that, or else you might be in trouble if you don't have anything to mitigate some damage. All right, then he's got a couple of treacheries that coming at us. So there's 2 of them that are pretty cheeky. They give him a tough status card, so that's pretty easy to deal with. Then he's got the hard to keep down. So this one, if you don't want that to surge, just make sure that he always has at least 1 damage on him. Before going into the villain phase, make sure he has at least 1 damage, because it won't matter if he heals for 1 or for 4. It won't surge as long as he's healing for something. And then we got his more nasty one, which is the Stampede, which he's got 3 copies of, kind of like the hero kit. The more copies of it, the more the villain wants to play off of that. And that gives him an extra attack, and if he deals you damage, he is going to stun you because he's punching so hard. So really, the danger combination is when these 2 cards combo off together. A Stampede with a charge, it can mean certain doom for our heroes. Now for the meat and the potatoes and the tier list that I have promised you. All right, but before I go any further, there is one suggestion I would make without actually having to increase the modular sets or anything, or just change anything up. The only thing I would suggest is maybe adding Formidable Foe from the Hood expansion, or the Hood villain pack. This just adds a steady to the villain, which makes it a little bit harder for him to be stunned and confused. It doesn't shut down this entire strategy for a hero. It just makes it a little bit more challenging without being super oppressive. So that's one suggestion I would make. Now, let's take a look at my top 3. All right, so first off, the top tier list is going to be for theme. So in my 3rd spot for theme is going to be the Osborne tech. Because I wanted to say I really like the criminal aspect of Rhino, and I kind of want to play off of that. So playing this modular set with Rhino has always been a good time, but it is not always easy time. We have the Neocarbon Scales that is going to give him reduce all the damage by 1. We have the Spike Gauntlets that increases attack by 1. We have the Ionic Boots that says after he deals damage to our identity, he adds 2 threat to the main scheme. And then we have the Kinetic Armor that gives him Retaliate. And then the 2 most dangerous ones, the Arm Cannon that says all of his attacks gain piercing and overkill and piercing. But the most dangerous of all is the Tracking Display, which says that each character cannot defend against the villain's attacks. So this is so harsh. So this is a difficulty level, I would say out of 10, I would give this one an 8 or a 9 out of 10, because it is a crazy tough, especially that all these attachments, if they come out, are going to have surge into something else. So some of them aren't too bad, but if you get the Arm Cannon or Tracking Display, it can hurt. But the good thing is all of these attachments can be removed by a hero action. So in the end, it's fun, but not too oppressive, which means you're going to lose every time, and it's just a matter of time. So this is my third spot for this. Second spot for the theme, we have the Iron Spider Sinister 6 that has a whole bunch of criminals like Spot, Electro, Hobgoblin, Bombshell, Iron Spider, and a Conundrum with the Sandman. Because there's two Sandmans there's one Sandman from obviously the Rhino's kit and this Sandman, so there's two ways that you can play into it. You can just play that there are two different Sandmans from two different altered realities, whichever. But if one or the other Sandman is already in play, the new Sandman can't enter play and just gives the card Surge. Easy fix, or just put both Sandmans in play and just see how that goes. Then you have an environment call that has Surge and Crime, and then all the criminals gain Surge. So again, that could be really harsh, especially that there's 6 of them plus the other 2, so 8 criminals in total. And then you can always get rid of that. You can spend resources and discard that card. And then finally, the Grand Larceny. And this one is also pretty brutal. And you can't remove threat from this scheme while a criminal minion is in play. So that gives you like a little bit of a time crunch where you're either going to fight Rhino real fast or bring to justice all the criminals and try to get rid of that Grand Larceny as soon as possible. Now, as a difficulty rating for this modular, I would give it about a 6-7 difficulty out of 10. Not as challenging as the other one because there's a lot less surging and minions are technically easier to remove. Moving on to the number 1 spot, we have Sinister Syndicate from the Hood Scenario Pack, which as there's, again, more criminals to play alongside our Rhino friend. Speed Demon, Boomerang, White Rabbit, Beetle, and again, Shocker that offers a Conundrum. Do the same thing as the other one. You can treat them as 2 separate entities, or, you know, if one of them is in play, the other one just surges. Now, the other added bonus to this one is they all have boost effects, so be careful, because even if they don't come into play, they will have an impact on the game. All right, and then finally we have the Crime Pays, which searches for a criminal minion and puts it into play, so it doesn't reveal. But finally, I think the worst card that you could get, it is basically a criminal gang up, which I love. It's called the Sinister Onslaught. If you're an alter ego, all the criminals will scheme. That's including Rhino because he is a criminal. And if you're an attack, it's basically gang up again, where all the criminals will attack you. And I will give this one a definite 8 out of 10 because of all of the effects that the cards will have and all those boost effects. So very, very fun. So on theme, those are my top 3 choices. Osborne Tech, and then we got the Iron Spider Sinister 6 and the Sinister Syndicate as 3 super cool modulars for that. Now, challenge-wise. So now we're moving on to a challenge, which means it's going to be to increase the difficulty. Not necessarily theme, but just increasing the difficulty against Rhino, and maybe a little theme in there as well. All right, in number 3 spot for difficulty, adding the Enchantress modular set from the Mad Titan Shadow is a virtual nightmare. I would definitely give that one a 7 or 8 out of 10 for difficulty. Enchantress comes out, she gets a Seduce, which means you cannot attack anymore. You can't attack basic events or anything, so that makes this extremely difficult for your hero to do anything. So you have to go to alter ego, and that might just be the end of you, especially if you can't take care of Enchantress with some of your allies. And not only that, but she also seduces your allies that turn into minions. So this could make this even harder for you. So this is my 3rd spot for difficulty, adding the Enchantress. My 2nd spot for difficulty would be the Sinister Assault. Again, a little bit of theme as well. Just because Hobgoblin, Craven, Scorpion, Vulture, Dr. Ock, and Electro all have triple boost icons. So that makes it a definite challenge. So you don't want to go to Alter Ego because he might just scheme for 4. It's very, very tough. And this would definitely be an 8.8 or 9 out of 10 for challenge-wise, just because of all the boost icons. So that one is a definite challenge to play against. Especially Doc Ock that has the Insight 2. That might just, you know what, if you haven't taken that main scheme down, it's just game over. And I think the hardest challenge with Rhino is the Legions of Hydra. Not only does it have 3 extra guards that deal you extra encounter cards, but if you get stuck with a couple of Legions of Hydra, you might just be like, swimming and drowning all at once. So that for difficulty would be my number 1 challenge here, would be Rhino with Legions of Hydra, as definitely a 9 out of 10 for difficulty, or even 9.5. It's pretty up there. And now finally, my last tier list will be for just pure enjoyment of Rhino. All right, my top 3 for just pure enjoyment of Rhino. I love Rhino and the State of Emergency from the Hood Hero Pack. And it just makes me think of like all the damage he's causing before we get there and stop him. So with all the extra side scheme that has these like little nasty effects. But I like it with Rhino. It's very fun and thematic. So for me, this is a big win. This is my number 3 spot for Rhino. And difficulty-wise, it's probably around a 5, 6. Not too difficult, but still very fun and interesting. So State of Emergency. Then my number 2 spot is Rhino in space, stealing all the galactic artifacts. Going in space and then just getting all of the cool galactic artifacts here. It's a little challenging because they do add up a lot, and there's a lot of nasty stuff that can come out of there. The side schemes are good because once they're gone, they're gone. But those other powerful artifacts there just give Rhino an interesting enough boost to make him pretty cool. So galactic artifacts would be my second choice for just fun flavor. And then finally, like I said, it's Rhino in space with the ship command, and then giving him like all the Milano stuff. It's super easy. Challenge wise, I would say is a 3 or a 4, but it's just cool to have, you know, think of Rhino just running around space and just doing stuff in space. I think for me, it's just fun. So guys, that about wraps it up for this episode. If there's anything you think I missed or I could have talked about a little bit more, please let me know. All right, so there you go. So I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope Villains and Beyond series is a series that you will continue to watch. If you have any comments, suggestions, please put them in there at the end of this video. If you haven't subscribed to my channel, please subscribe to the channel. Don't forget those likes. I appreciate those comments. So please keep on playing Marvel Champions, and just remember to have some fun with these modulars and these villains, and just play the game. Bam, bam, ba. That's it. Bye-bye.